Hello, everyone. Welcome. I'm Donna Nelson, Holistic Empowerment Coach and Lifestyle Strategist. Today, I have an amazing tool and some insights that I want to share with you. I've been, no pun intended, but tapping into listening to the Tapping World Summit. It's the 10th annual one, third year in a row now that I've been trained in this technique. And I've had so many amazing insights, and I wanted to share more about what tapping is. It's a technique that I use with my clients, but I don't talk about it a lot because I just use it in my work, and I talk kind of around generalities of what I do and so forth in my lives and in my trainings that I do online. But I know it's super important that I share this with you, and so I wanted to help give you some training today and tell you about it and give you the opportunity to plug into the last 3 days of the Tapping World Summit. So I'm going to share the link with you. If this is your first time actually watching me or meeting me on lives, I'm Donna Nelson. I am a holistic empowerment coach and a lifestyle strategist. I work with women one-on-one who are struggling in some area of their life, looking for more purpose, more fulfillment, more confidence. And I also am working with organizations that are looking to help grow employee retention and help enhance focus of their staff and resilience and so on and so forth. So if any of that sounds like something you're more interested in, PM me, I'll share more about that. But today, if you are interested in learning how to better leverage your energy to really optimize your personal and professional achievement and fulfillment, both personally and professionally, you want to know how to banish stress, you want to enhance your mental focus, you're looking really to maybe just achieve more, like what are the things that are blocking you from moving you forward, both personally, maybe in relationships or in your career. There's some kind of fear around it. If you want to develop more emotional resilience, really tune into your intuitive voice, that kind of inner knowing, tapping into that knowledge that you know is your truth. Be more authentic and real for yourself and those people around you. Today, in very quick, I'm going to share with you the tool that can definitely help you get there. As I mentioned straight at the top, that I'm going to be sharing with you the tool and the techniques that I use with my clients. And as I was sharing, I've been following this week Tapping World Summit, which is experts in the area of the emotional freedom technique, also known as tapping. And tapping is a technique that falls under energy medicine. It really is a blend of many older modalities, been around in mind-body medicine for a long time. And if you don't know my work, all the tools that I use are evidence-based mind-body healing tools that are specific to help break through mental and emotional blocks, heal past traumas, and really optimize your energy to get you to be able to be, do, and achieve more. That's the whole focus and the purpose of my work. So the emotional freedom technique is a form of psychological acupressure. It's a blend of psychology and acupressure, and it follows along with the same meridians that maybe you may know and be familiar with that are used in traditional acupuncture, which has been around for over 5,000 years. And except we're not using any needles and we're not going along all of the meridians. We're literally using our fingers and tapping on 9 of those meridian points that are connected to our organ systems and that are linked to all of the other meridians. So these are 9 super powerful tapping points or meridian points along our body. And with that, we're using affirmative statements and getting our body. So what's the point of all of this? So the point of using tapping is that tapping on these specific meridian points are twofold. One is that by using this kind of percussion, it is actually opening up the blocked energy that is in that particular meridian and with that organ system. The other thing which are things that actually make our body sick. So where we have blocked energy anywhere in our body, it is creating this stagnant lack of flow of energy that then blocks our mental capacity, our creativity, And that's started from from the brain, which I'll get to next, right? And because of that blocked energy, then it causes inflammation in our body, and we can get sick as a result of it. So there's lots of reasons why we use tapping. In my work, mainly though, it is with working on those mental and emotional blocks, the past traumas, the things that keep us stuck from moving forward, addiction, those kinds of things. So, but nonetheless, if you have, it's also used for physical ailments like pain and healing, other things, again, because we're freeing up the energy so it can flow more freely, and the body can then do what it does best, which is heal itself, because it has the energy now to do that. The circuits have been cleared, if you will. So that's the first, tapping on those specific meridian points. We're opening up the energy so that it can flow. And then the second thing that tapping and using these affirmative statements that we're using with it is actually communicating to that fear center of our brain, that's part of our brain that says, stop, don't do that. It's communicating to our brain to calm down. So it really is an amazing technique. I've had such incredible results in my own life, as well as just amazing results with clients on some of the most things that come up that seem so complex that can be resolved in literally minutes. It's not always that easy because you have to be open and you can't be resistant to it, or, you know, where you're resisting, of course, it's going to be more of a challenge, right? So, but we use tapping to shift thoughts, feelings, beliefs, and behaviors that get in our way of doing and achieving what we want. We all have blocks, right? And maybe you don't have blocks in all area of your life, but you know, there's one area of your life that's not doing as well as you would like it to. And so, you know, think about what areas of your life are not as abundant or not flowing as well as you would like. You know, it might be business, it might be in a relationship, it might be in your health, right? It could be any number of things, in your finances, right? What are those areas that you know that you need to be doing better in, that you want to do better in, but for some reason you just never get around to it, right? Or like most of the clients that I work with, right, it's like one foot on the gas for a while and then they slam on the brakes, and it's this constant stop and go. There's, you know, there's something that's chronically blocking, right? So here I'm going to share with you a couple of things, the blocks that are actually in the way of you attracting the abundance and the change and the shifts that you want, whatever those things are in any area of your life, right? Abundance isn't just money, it's many things. It's love, it's health, it's, you know, recreation, right? It's all kinds of things. One of the blocks that gets in our way are feelings. And this is the core area that with tapping, the emotional freedom technique, EFT, however it's referred. I say EFT tapping because when I got my training actually this month is 3 years with the incredible, amazing science geek Dawson Church, which is why I actually went and took my training from him specifically. Key researcher in validating EFT, a valid technique for healing, and so I wanted to study under him to get the science and so on and so forth. But the principles are the same, it doesn't matter. So what about our feelings and emotions, right? So when I say feelings, we're specifically talking about emotions. So what are those emotions that get in your way in that one area of your life where you know you need to grow? Is it fear? Is it envy? Is it anxiety? Is it guilt? Is it shame, right? It doesn't really matter what the negative emotion is. Process for removing the block to it is absolutely the same. But here's the thing, you have to identify what that is, and you know what it is, right, just by asking the question, because the answers are always within us. So intuitively, you know what it is. Now, we get in this state of resistance and denial and avoidance sometimes, of shoving our feelings down because we maybe don't want to deal with it, or we just don't even know what it is, so we just kind of keep piling stuff on or walking away so we don't have to deal with things. So here's the second one. The second one is limiting beliefs. And we're talking about blocks that prevent you you from attracting what it is that you want to create change or have in your life. So the first one is our emotions. The second one is limiting beliefs. Believing, so what are those limiting beliefs about that one thing that you want to create a shift around or have more of in your life, right? What's your belief, whether, we all know it, right? So sometimes we have to stop and think about it, because I know for myself for so many years, it was just super easy to just like push it aside and keep moving, right? And I see that with people that follow my work and the people that I work with, right? We're just so easy about pushing it aside and just plowing ahead instead of dealing with it, and then we hit a block again, we get this stop and go, or we just give up on it and go do something else. Oh my God, how many times have I done that? And I see others do it all the time. It's like, it's why my clients say I just call out their bullshit, because there's almost nothing that they can be fucking up or making an excuse about that I haven't done myself. So I'm just going to call them on it to help them get through it. Limiting beliefs around, there's a ceiling on something, right? So, on how good things can be, right? So maybe you're in looking to get into another relationship, or you're in a relationship that you've given up trying on because maybe your belief is that this is as good as it's going to get, right? And that's a pretty crummy belief when maybe you're suffering or not feeling fulfilled, or don't have from that relationship what you want. So it'd be super important to change that belief system that this is as good as it gets, right? Maybe that's your belief system in your work, right? Maybe you feel like you're kind of trapped where you're at because, maybe you're, so far in, maybe you're close to retirement and there's a big payout and you can't leave, right? Or you've been doing the same thing forever and you feel like you have a belief system that this is all you know, this is all you can do. And so you feel like you've kind of tapped out or capped out at that, being afraid that there is not going to be enough money or enough love, right? So if you're you have a block around money and financial abundance, sometimes that shows up in symptoms of overspending or underspending, whatever that is, the fear around money, or guilty that you have more than someone else. Some people will hold themselves back from being successful and having what could come to them super easy because they feel guilty maybe passing someone on the corporate ladder that is their friend, right? Or maybe even their supervisor, or someone, making more money than someone in their family because of feeling bad leaving someone behind or having more than they do. And part of this is a deservingness issue too, right? But these are belief systems. So these are limiting false beliefs that need to be shifted for you to actually be able to break through and move to the next level of whatever it is. I know that, I'm thinking about, just came to mind, one of the ladies that is in my Facebook group, she had messaged me and said that she wanted to be able to attract high-end clients. So I look at that and I'm like, well, that's easy. What's the money issue, right? Like, what's the belief system around not attracting more clients or high-end clients, whatever that is anyway. So there's always a belief system, and where there's a belief system, there's always an emotion that's attached to that. So we have to, and that's why EFT tapping is such a beautiful, effective tool to use for this, because when we have a belief, there's always an emotion attached to it, and tapping works super effectively on that emotional center of the brain and on those physical sensations in the body that are blocking us and holding us back. So, so you need to look at, what are your limiting beliefs around that thing that's holding you back? I'm too old, I'm too fat, I'm too young, I don't have the training, I don't think I can make it on my own, right? Like, I see this in relationships, someone may want to leave the relationship, but there's this fear around, I don't think I can make it on my own. And that's only because that belief has been created by a situation or something that someone else has instilled. And so we need to shift that so that you can get more clarity around what is the right thing to do in this relationship. Or I don't like being alone. This one actually has come up quite a lot recently, stuff around relationships has come up a lot recently, and just not like being alone. So that's really a belief system that has a really strong emotion attached to that. So where does that come from, and why is that emotion there, right? So what is the root of that? So really digging around that belief system, I don't like being alone. And not that there should be like this rule about you should be okay being alone, but if you can't function in a day-to-day, or you're constantly distracted or longing for another person to be in your life because you're not okay with who you are being alone, then that is I'll say a dysfunction from these thoughts and emotions that are attached to that, right? Okay. So, and the third thing is, because I'm seeing that I'm already at almost 20 minutes. So the third thing is behaviors. So the three things that are going to block you from being or achieving and having the abundance that you want, and how tapping is the tool that's going to help you break through that. The first one are your emotions. The second one are your limiting false beliefs. And the third is behaviors. The two key behaviors that get in our way, this is not going to surprise anyone, are procrastination and self-sabotage. No surprise, right? So we do it all day long, most of us in some way. And maybe you only do it around this one thing, or maybe you do it around a lot of things, because the thing is what you do in one area, it tends to carry over in other areas and show up in other places, maybe not as strongly, but you'll see it in other areas of your life where, because it's a pattern, it's a learned behavior, right? That's why they call them behaviors, for God's sakes. Okay, so procrastination. So what is your repeated pattern, right? What is it that you keep putting off that would improve your situation if you didn't put it off, right? If you did that thing, it would improve your situation. So once you know the answer to that, right, the next question is, so why aren't you doing it? See, intuitively, you know the answers to all of these questions, and sometimes we just need to be prompted with them. So, I mean, the resolution is not knowing the answers to the question. It's knowing the answers to the questions gives us something to now tap on using the EFT tapping technique to actually break through and release the emotion and open up, releasing it from the brain and all of that, right? So, so the resolution does not come in having an aha or an epiphany to these answers. That just gives us the information that we need to work with. So what's your pattern? What is it you absolutely would create positive change if you did it, but yet you keep putting it off? And why aren't you doing it? And then, because, sometimes we're in denial around these things, right? Sometimes there's more comfort in kind of just, like I said before, like pushing it aside or being in denial around it. Because when we know the answer, right, then, or when we admit the answer, I guess I should say, because we always know the answer. When we admit the answer, then it requires us to do something about it, right? And when we are conscious, it's in the forefront of our awareness, and then we don't do anything about it, then we start beating ourselves up, right? Making excuses, maybe being in more denial. And that's really uncomfortable, right? We don't want to be in that place. So sometimes it's better to just try not to acknowledge it. If that's the case where you find yourself making excuses around that, then you've got to ask yourself the next hard question, which is, why is that so scary for you, right? So this information is what we need to be able to then tap on these, if you will, objections or block or excuses, whatever you want to call them. So here's the thing. Once you clear the emotion and the limiting belief and the behaviors that aren't allowing you to move forward, make the change that you want. Once you do that, then that's going to help you move past and get more aligned with what you do want to do, and you'll be inspired to take that action without the pain and the push. And that's the beautiful thing that I do love about this, because I say to people all the time, there's willpower, and then there's working in flow. And when you have blocks and you're pushing against those negative emotions and you're struggling to push through, the resistance of these behaviors that you're trying to change, that's hard and it's exhausting. It's really draining your energy. And I want to help you leverage your energy to really maximize your efforts. And the way we do that is clearing all the shit out of the way that gets blocked. Our emotions, all the limiting beliefs, and these behaviors, right? All right, so that was procrastination. So what about self-sabotage? And I want to wrap this up in 5 minutes. I don't want to go over 30 minutes. So self-sabotage, so what is that anyway? Well, self-sabotage is anything you do that gets in the way of reaching your goal, obviously, right? But when we hear it that way, we start going, oh yeah, I do this, I do that, like there's 20 things, right? And the truth is, when we are doing this kind of self-sabotaging behavior, and I'm going to talk about some of them so that you can get an idea, and maybe it'll spark some things within you that you're doing. But it really is, it's not a weakness. Like, none of these things that we're talking about are weaknesses or faults or limitations of who you are or what your abilities are. It's none of that. It's about your body protecting itself. It's a natural function where you've had pain in the past, you've been hurt, you've been disappointed, there's been trauma, whether it's little traumas or big traumas, they all are accumulating in our body and show up in different ways. So when we get stuck from moving forward on certain things, it's because of past things that we've experienced that our brain is now being triggered when we want to create a change. And even where there's not been, say, trauma necessarily, whether big or small, and, I'm not talking about, abuse necessarily. They could just be little things. Someone made fun of you and said one silly thing, or someone said, oh, stop that, you're dumb. And depending on your age, right, you weren't able to process that properly, and you developed a belief around that for yourself that now shows up every time you try at an unconscious level, shows up every time you go to try something new, because your brain has held on to that and it's saying, yeah, you might not want to try that because remember, you're not so smart. So that's a false belief, obviously, right? So we just need to work through that to release that. So this is really, so self-sabotage is really just your body protecting itself so that you don't get hurt, right? Don't get hurt emotionally, don't get hurt physically, that kind of stuff. So how does self-sabotage show up in different areas of our lives? What does it look like? It could look like a million different things. If we were talking about money, it could be overspending or underspending. If it's in relationships, it could show up in causing conflict in your relationship, to keep sabotaging it from being the best that it could be, right? And it sounds totally asinine. I know that. People are like, why would I do that? I don't know. Why do you do that? Right? Like, that's the whole point of figuring this stuff out, right? So having the awareness, people do this stuff, right? People avoid showing love and compassion and intimacy in relationships in a sabotaging way, right? Because they're so afraid of being hurt in love. So it shows up so many ways. It could be being late, right? Using overwhelm as an excuse for not doing something that you said you were going to do. Maybe just because you don't have the power to say no, you haven't developed that skill set, right? And honestly, I see overwhelm used as an excuse all the time. Not that people aren't overwhelmed. People are overwhelmed. Emotional resilience is a key part of what I need to work with my clients on developing, and having the power of setting boundaries so they have, a greater sense of confidence and feel more empowered, for sure, right? Overwhelm, almost everyone is overwhelmed in this society because we're just bombarded with so much stuff, right? But using that overwhelm as an excuse, I do see that. I'll call some of my, biz besties, hey, why didn't you come to this? Or I thought you were doing that or whatever. Oh, I'm just too overwhelmed. As opposed to kind of having their shit together and, being more organized, or just saying, no, I can't do it. I shouldn't have committed to it to start with, because we just, so often people they want to be part of everything. They want to do everything. And that's mostly because there's no clarity around what it is they truly want to do. So they're just throwing a bunch of crap out there and thinking results are going to come out of it, right? So that's totally ineffective, and it is a quick way to get overwhelmed and get disappointed and create more objections to why you're not going to move forward on whatever it is that you want to achieve or have. So how do you know, and I feel like I just kind of touched on this a little bit, but how do you know if you do have a block or not, right? So probably by what I've already said and some of the examples that I've given, you already know if you have a block or not, right? One of the ways that you know for sure if you have a block around something is when you just throw out bullshit excuses about why you can't do something, why you didn't do something, why you shoulda, coulda, woulda, whatever, right? That's a clear indicator that there's a block, that you have a belief around something about whether you're good enough or whether it could happen for you or whatever it is, right? So that's one. The other is, I don't have time. So of course, I mean, this is an excuse, right? So, but people can totally look at and justify, I don't have time, which we know is not true, because if there's an emergency or where things are really important to us, we find the time. So time isn't the issue, right? Or I forgot. That one drives me totally crazy. And maybe I'll do it later. Oh my goodness. My son, I've never in my life seen anybody that says to everything, I'll do it later. So, but again, it's self-sabotage. And then it becomes, and this is the thing, I'll use Kanan as an example. So when we say something like, I'll do it later, and then you say that, and generally maybe you do that only around one thing. Maybe you just do it around your finances, right? Or maybe you do it around going to the gym, right? I'll do it later. I'll do it tomorrow. I'll do it I'm going to start doing it first thing in the morning, like whatever that thing is, right? But then you never get around to it because you're going to do it later. That becomes, just like all of these things do, right? It becomes a learned pattern that then starts to carry over in every area, right? Like doing the dishes, I'll do it later. Put the laundry in the washer from the dryer, I'll do it later, right? Like, I mean, in the whole scope of life, you could totally justify all of this. Well, is it really that important? Is it the most important thing I could be doing? No, but it becomes a pattern that creates a dysfunction for you to achieve what you want, because again, it's just bullshit excuses that create blocks that you then have to remove through using EFT tapping. Okay, and then, all right, so that was the I'll do it later. And then another one is just blaming someone or something, right? So all of these are things that when you hear yourself, I don't have time, I'll do it later, I forgot, or catch yourself in, well, this happened, you start blaming something or someone, their fault, right? Then absolutely you have some blocks that are in your way of achieving what it is that you want to be or do, right? EFT tapping is the tool that can help you break through those thoughts and feelings and beliefs and behaviors that are getting in your way on a daily basis to being or achieving what it is that you want to do. I'm going to put in the comments the link to the Tapping World Summit so that you can plug into the last 3 days of it and get some experience and start tapping on maybe some things that are around you. There've been every day there's 2 experts that are speaking, and Jessica and Nick Ortner are the ones that are hosting it. Jess always has a meditation based on the topic of the day. So it's really been really fantastic. So plug in. If you want to get some private one-on-one tapping, PM me or make a comment in the comments section, and I will send you a link where we can set up an appointment and do some tapping together, maybe around a block or an emotion or one thing that you know is going on with you that you need to work through. I would love to be able to help you with that. It's not something that I offer regularly. It's just because I'm doing this, I'm saying that I will, because and that would allow you to not have to hire me as a coach. And I'm working with very few people one-on-one right now anyway, because I'm doing more of my group workshops and speaking and stuff. So, but I want to help you. So if you want some help in that area. And I also want to say this, I'm putting together a course on confidence right now. And in each of the modules, we're going to be doing tapping on each topic or each issue that we're working on around confidence. And one of the things that has been coming up a lot lately around confidence is body image. And so that's going to actually, I might literally just do a course around that. So, because I just have so much stuff that has been coming up with that. So anyway, so that will be coming out. I'm going to actually be doing it for free, like I did the 30-day Jumpstart in my Facebook group, Emotional Confidence for Purpose-Driven Women. So again, if you're not in that group, come over, get the free training. And then once that confidence course is done, I'm packaging it up to sell it. So you get it free always for those ladies who are in my Facebook group. And then I'm going to sell it after that. So I want you to plug into it when it's free, and then you can help me, give me feedback too. Okay, so that's what I wanted to share today. Thank you for plugging in and listening, and feel free to PM me if I can help you with some tapping.